Hi, it's Joe for GAK, and I'm here today with two new pedals from BOSS, both part of the 500 series. I've got the RV-500 and the MD-500, BOSS's new additions to complete their new premium range of 500 series pedals to go along with the delay that they introduced last year. So the RV and the MD are reverb and modulation, and they are absolute ultimate solutions for people who love effects because they kind of do everything. This is just a brief overview. We're going to do a really in-depth video next week. We've got Matt Knight from BOSS coming down to have a chat with us, and he's going to show you things in way more depth than I will. But I was so excited about these. I kind of just wanted to get them out and show you a little bit of what they do and how cool they are. I'll start with the RV-500. It's the same kind of premise as the delay. If you've seen the delay, you've got an A and a B and a tap or sort of third function control, and they have a mode setting which allows you to pick through a wide range of reverbs. At first glance, because there's so much to this pedal, at first glance there were a few things that I picked out that I really loved. Mainly that there is a space echo on the RV-500, so you can do that whole the whole space echo thing. It's got the whole sort of 201 style sounds in there. But what was totally wicked about the space echo is that if you sort of dive into these sort of intricate controls that you have on every patch, you can even pick tape heads for the space echo, which means you could pick like a super aged tape head, which kind of makes it way more involved than the original, the older 201 is. So it's a space echo on steroids, which is phenomenal and really great, because that's kind of only one little function of what is a really vast pedal. It's of course got the shimmer option, which everyone loves at the moment on reverb. And what's totally cool about the shimmer option on here, I was just messing around with it just now, you can actually pick between two pitches. You can pick between like the pitch that it starts at and ascends to, but you can go up in like individual incrementals, which is incredible. So you can make these really like warm, subby sort of shimmers that sort of just go out across everything. So they're totally cool. Those were kind of just a couple of bits that I really liked. The other thing is that you can kind of flick with the modes. They've got an A and a B, so of course, like, you can flick banks up and banks down. You can go between presets, and you can have A set as like your nice safe slapback, and you know that you can just hit B and it will snap over to some big ridiculous reverb for big ridiculous reverb sections. But what I thought was super cool is you can also change quite easily the in the menu. You can make it so you can run two different reverbs at the same time, which makes this very, very interesting, because you can make this into a super reverb with two things. Like, I've got it set up at the moment with like a space echo on one and a shimmer on the other, and I can turn those both on at the same time, creating an infinite space echo shimmer sound, which is pretty cool. And what makes that even better is you've got a stereo out, so if I wanted to, I could send my space echo reverb to one amp, and I could send my shimmer to another. How we tie in the MD-500 with this is that the MD-500 can do the same thing. So I could, to introduce the MD-500, it's obviously a modulation pedal. It's got tons and tons of different mods in there, some based on like famous modulation pedals, but with a few awesome additions that I'll speak about in a minute. But for example, if I wanted to run a chorus from the MD-500 into a space echo on the RV-500 and send that to like a Vox AC15, I could, and then I could run a phaser into a shimmer and send that into a different amplifier, which probably another Vox AC15, so the best. But you could send it into two separate amps with two totally different things going on, which is completely awesome and completely groundbreaking. I love the MD-500. I love modulation, but this has got some great things on there. Some of you might know, like the old, it was like there was a a BOSS compact released in the 80s called the Dimension. I think it was like the DM2, and it was like a mauve foot switch with different 4 flick switches for different like chorus type modulation effects, and it's really hard to get hold of, and a super cool modulation pedal. They've brought it back on this, so I would buy this just for the Dimension effect. But it also has loads of other cool things on there as well, but the Dimension there is great. And you can do the same thing. You can have A and B, so you can have it so you flick to B and it cuts A, so you can switch between, you know, like I said, like a chorus and a phaser. Or it has the overtone sound, so you can make yourself sound like an organ, which is absolutely mad. You know, it's got the vibrato, which BOSS have recently reintroduced in their Wazacraft range in the VB2W, which is totally cool. You've got tremolo, you've got like a vibe thing going on, and all these effects there's so much that you can edit within the effect itself. So it's not just like there are, I don't know how many there are, like 11 effect options. Each effect can be modeled on loads of different things. Like you can make it sound like a Phase 90 if you wanted, or you know, you could do anything. And of course, the same with the RV-500. It comes packed full of presets which you can bank up and down between, so you can always have your sort of 2 go-tos, but also you can run 2 modulations concurrently, which is of course what everyone wants to do, because as everyone knows, you should always have vibrato on, and under no circumstances turn it off. And if you're into Omar Rodriguez Lopez, you should also have phaser always on. So, you know, you could flick between sort of one of them coming off and on and leaving the other one as your standard all the time sound, which is great. We're only scratching the surface with these. We're going to go more in depth with them, as I said, next week, but I thought I'd just show you some mad sounds from these pedals.